Alright, man. Where the hell are we going?
Well, we're looking for my body, dumbass.
Yeah, I know that. But all you said was north. I've got to know where I'm going.
I think we need to start with the speakeasy.
Back to the speakeasy? Why the hell am I all the way out here then? Alright, let me finish my drink and we'll get up there.
Well, any fucking time today, princess.
Jealous of your hat. So I must go to superior hat. My best hat. Though not my most comfortable.
Hello and welcome to the speakeasy.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men. Good enough.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're doing our talk video this week, and I thought we'd kind of go through this week in news, because we've dipped off of actual, like, topical political things for a few weeks.
Uh-huh.
Figured we should do our due diligence and step back into that muck for a little while.
I don't even follow what's going on. Everybody's
mad at Trump.
Everybody's
always.
mad at Trump. And the other everybody's aren't.
Here's what's interesting, though. Right now, the last few weeks, more than you've heard anything bad about Trump, you've heard Kavanaugh is the worst thing in the world to grace the earth since Satan himself.
I've heard the name. I haven't looked into what's going on with the Kavanaugh.
Alright, so here's who Brett Kavanaugh is. Brett Kavanaugh is a federal judge who actually, believe it or not, is more of a moderate than some. He was very much for the ruling that allowed gay marriage to become legal, which I'm perfectly for.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly willing to let them suffer like the rest of us.
Yes.
Also, like, seems pretty stupid to not be able to be in the hospital room with your significant other.
For what?
There are some things only families allowed in for.
Uh-huh.
And if you can't get married, and you're not, already cousins,
yeah,
then you can't get in there. And that's just dumb. But, so, my point being, he's been relatively moderate, but he's still a guy that leans towards constitutionalism. Meaning, he's the type of guy that he functions on what the law says. He doesn't think judges should necessarily rewrite the law. He felt that the law and Constitution dictated that anybody should be able to marry anybody they want. As long as they're both human.
Yeah, because you can get into some weird stuff.
Yeah, that's where we draw the line.
Yeah.
So if you consider yourself an Apache attack helicopter, and you can get that on a legal document, no marriage for you.
Well, unless you're marrying another Apache attack helicopter.
Nah, we're just outlawing all that.
But I mean, if they could get that on a legal document...
I know, I'm being a smart aleck and you're messing it up.
No, I'm just...
Yeah, you're being consistent.
Yeah. I mean...
So let me present you, since you haven't really followed it, the series of events as I perceived them, based on news cycles, right?
Yes.
Trump nominates, for people that can speak proper English, Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court seat.
Okay.
It was recently vacated by a relatively moderate judge, and so he decided he wanted to push a relatively moderate judge. The guy is still right-leaning. But, like, slightly right of center to most of the like, media left right now is, like, Nazi.
Oh.
So, I might be pushing it, but it seems like if you step right of center, like, it's like, I think people should pay lower taxes. I think you're a Nazi. So, that's super annoying. But that's kind of the treatment this guy's gotten. Anyway.
Taxation's theft.
Yeah. Trump nominates Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
The day he's nominated, I'll have to see if I can find these documents. Matt Christensen and Blonde in the Belly of the Beast on Beauty and the Beta podcast talk about this a little bit, and they showed one. It's a good podcast. You might listen to it.
Beauty and the Bay?
Beta.
Beta.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beta.
Beauty and the Beta.
Live from Castle Tower in his mother's basement. It's basically just a conservative chick and a conservative guy, although the chick is more of an emotion-driven right-leaning person, and the guy is more of facts and logic-driven right-leaning person.
Okay, so
you get a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And they do a good job of balancing each other out, because sometimes he'll pull her back when she's just like, you know what? No. Them. They talked about this. Literally hours after he was nominated, documents came out saying that the left would stop Kavanaugh from being confirmed. Here's the fun thing. Some of the documents that were released had little boxes with X's in them and not his name. As though these letters were prepared before he even nominated the guy.
Oh.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
So, we see that, and we see a bunch of people come out and say they're going to stop him. And then you see the several people from the Women's March saying that they're going to come out. It's just too hot for this, man. Ugh.
This is nice.
Yeah, that's a lot more breathable. Walmart.
Really?
Seth got it at Walmart for mowing. To kind of shade his face.
Getting one.
Yep. And the Women's March people come out and say that during his hearing, they're going to try to interrupt it every hour on the hour, if not more frequently, to push things back to keep him from getting confirmed. Now, the logical reason a lot of people have put behind that is if they can delay this far enough, he might not be able to be confirmed before midterm elections. Which means that if Democrats are able to take over Congress, they can keep him from being confirmed and basically keep Trump from getting any judge confirmed. Right?
Gotcha.
And honestly, I think most people, the second this guy got nominated, just pick sides.
Okay, so what's... It sounds like he's not super far right, like some of the other
Here's what
guys.
they're afraid of. You want to know what they're afraid of? That seems like the easiest way to point out why they're outraged.
Yeah.
They're afraid, even though this guy has never said he would do it. Yeah, okay. They were afraid...
Maybe not lean on the bar, bro.
Or, maybe just quit kicking stuff.
I didn't kick nothing.
I'm just giving you flack, dude. Anyway, they were afraid that if Trump got another Supreme Court judge, that next time someone raised the issue to the Supreme Court, that Roe versus Wade would be overturned. Roe versus Wade made abortion legal. If Roe versus Wade is overturned, abortion becomes illegal across the board.
And that's what everybody's freaking out about? Like,
that's
seriously?
why they're scared of Kavanaugh. That's genuinely what they're worried about.
Has he said what his stance on that was?
No.
So
Whoa. He hasn't said he would overturn it. He has implied that this is already a law, and I'm to interpret the law as it is written, not make policy changes. Which to me sounds like he's not going to overturn something that was already done. However, that was done by the Supreme Court, so it could be undone by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but...
I don't think it'll happen. To be honest with you, I really don't think that'll happen. But a lot of right-wing people are anti-abortion all the way across the board. No abortions, period, right?
Yeah.
Maybe most of them will make exceptions for things like threatening the life of the mother or stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
like a tubal pregnancy.
At that point, I don't see it as really an abortion as a... I mean, it's
a horrible choice to have to make.
Yeah, because
if the kid's not... in a tubal pregnancy, the kid's not going to survive. Either way.
Yeah.
There's no viability of life there.
Yeah, so you're just getting rid of a tumor or a parasite.
Yes. So... I hate to reduce it to that, but you're not wrong. Well, because at that point, there's no viability of life. So it's like you're not killing something that could ever become a child.
You're just saving the life of
the mother.
What would have been the mother.
Yes. Now, because they're afraid of that, they don't want Trump to get another Supreme Court nomination. Problem is, this guy at least gets this one, and most likely, if he gets a second term, he's going to get at least one more, and that's assuming Ruth Bader Ginsburg makes it more than the end of this term. That woman is super old. To listen to her talk, like, it takes her 2 or 3 minutes to spit out a sentence, and she falls asleep at public events all the time. She's like in her 90s.
She's still a Supreme Court judge.
She still works out all the time. You see videos of her like working out with her personal trainer and stuff.
Hey, I mean, if you can still do your job and do it well, keep doing whatever you're doing.
Well, some people would argue that she doesn't do it well, but she seems to be okay. She at least, is able to make decisions. And even she thinks everything that's been going on with Kavanaugh's nomination is wrong. She thinks it's become this political grandstanding that it shouldn't be. Now, okay, series of events as I saw them. He was nominated. Those documents came out. The Women's March people said this. Then, sure enough, this guy goes into court. People start jumping up, screaming, interrupting. He gets these weird lines of hypothetical questions that are obviously attempting to ask if he's willing to indict a sitting president. Indict. The word indict's important there. Because he believes, based on the laws on the books, you cannot legally indict a sitting president. But you can impeach him. What people are taking that little segment that you cannot indict a sitting president as he would never convict Donald Trump. If Donald Trump was found to have been colluding with Russia, which there is zero proof of after a couple years, and I don't know why it's still a thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, they're trying to say that also that Trump's trying to put him on the Supreme Court hoping that this guy would never prosecute. And would block any attempts to prosecute him. But here's the thing. The way the process is supposed to work is impeachment, and then indictment.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he said.
Okay.
You have to first impeach him, then you can indict him. And he was skeptical of the idea of even allowing the president to be investigated while he was a sitting president because he feels that would impede his duties as a president. He said this decades ago, or at least a decade ago. So it was while he was in school.
That whole thing? Or...
He said that he didn't think that a sitting president should be able to be indicted. But he did say that it's perfectly acceptable to impeach.
Okay, and that was said 10 years ago, or
more. This was while he was in school, while he was in college. I don't know how old he is. I'm pretty sure it was at least 15 years ago.
Okay.
Alright. So we're here. They've been interrupting consistently in these weird hypothetical lines of questioning. One of the dads of one of the kids killed in Parkland.
Okay.
Supposedly went to shake this guy's hand and was like, "This guy wouldn't even shake my hand, he's a piece of crap." If you watch the video, what happened was this guy tried to go up to Brett Kavanaugh, not saying anything really. Mm-hmm. Just kind of he walked up and tried to be like, "Hey, I'm this person's dad," and tried to reach out to shake his hand. If you watch the video, before Kavanaugh even sees him, he's walking this way, the guy's behind him. Kavanaugh's security grabs this guy and goes to pull him away.
Mm-hmm.
He turns around and goes, "I don't know who the hell that guy is." Turns back around and keeps going while his security takes him away.
Yeah, I mean, you're walking up on someone who is up for nomination for the Supreme Court. He's obviously a high-profile person as it is. If you're up for nomination for Supreme Court, what is his title right now?
He's a federal judge.
Okay, yeah, you walk up on a federal judge, just walking up behind him. You might be lucky you didn't end up in a box.
If the chief of police in Eudora is walking through a crowd and you start coming up behind him, I wouldn't be surprised if other cops swarm you just to make sure you're not about to do something stupid.
Yeah.
And that's in a town that's had 2 legally murders, 1 legit straight up with intent murder in its history. 2 legal murders because one lady got charged with murder by neglect essentially of a child at a daycare recently.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know the exact details, so.
I don't either. We're not trying to get into that.
Yeah.
But, so we see that none of those efforts of interruptions or anything like that have been successful. After all of that, some senator says she's received a Me Too allegation that Brett Kavanaugh tried to rape a girl in college. She gave no name, no nothing. A few days later, this Dr. Ford lady came forward. I saw you make a fun joke on that, by the way.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what you were commenting on. But you just used it to make a Ford joke.
Man.
It's alright, it was the Whiskey Patriots. They're happy to let you do it.
Ford sucks.
Whiskey Patriots, if you're here, we want to do a video with you and we will not stop.
Ever.
Anyway. So after all of that, this woman comes forward with an allegation. Now once she steps out into the light, she doesn't know what year it happened.
Okay.
I'm going to keep rolling through this, so let me get to the end. She's fuzzy about the details. She says in her account, with what details we have, including she doesn't know where it happened or when it happened. So we don't have a where or when. We have a party in college. Maybe she was hammered before she went to the party and she didn't know where the party was. Maybe.
Don't pregame.
I'm trying to, as objectively as possible, look at these facts. She says that he pinned her down on the bed while his friend held the door shut. That's an interesting thing because then you have collaboration in a rape.
Yeah.
So you have to have two guys that are willing to commit rape now. And he supposedly, he's a big fella to my understanding. He supposedly pins her on the bed and then stops the rape. Somehow she gets away after this large man pinned this small woman down on a bed without being raped. Now I'm not saying that's impossible, I'm just saying that's unlikely.
Yeah.
If he actually was intending to rape her, right?
Yeah, and he had somebody watching the door, so...
And she got out of the room even with somebody supposedly shutting off the door. So she's now shedded two full-grown men as a fairly small woman. And escaped. That's basically all the details of the allegation she gave. Later on, she gave some conflicting details and all that. The only real corroboration to this story she has is 10 years ago or more.
Mm-hmm.
She told her therapist that some guy who was now a federal judge, or was now in the government, I don't even know that she said a federal judge, had tried to rape her, and she gave different details to the therapist. But they were also just as vague. Now here's the thing about that. Even with that document, you can't corroborate your own story.
Yeah. I would think, now, I've never really been in that kind of situation.
This wasn't 10 plus years ago. This was 35 years ago. This happened supposedly in the early 80s.
In the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
35, so that would be 83.
She said it was like 82 to 84-ish.
Okay, so yeah, around 35 would be...
Yeah.
So around 83. Still, even being that long ago, you'd think that would stick in your mind. What day...
Well, here's the thing, before we get into the details of her case, right, given that series of events, isn't it easy to see why some people would think that was a politically motivated stunt?
Yeah. I mean, if he's trying to get in and they're already... Or if he's not even necessarily
she's not
trying to be a Supreme Court judge, I imagine anybody who's going to be a lawyer, that's the top of the food chain.
Anybody with big drive wants to get there. In that field. I presented it to my wife without any of those extraneous facts I gave you, and she's like, I find it hard to believe that chick.
Yeah. That's...
And there was no police report ever filed. Now, I know a lot of rapes go unreported, right?
Yeah.
But it's 35 years old. There's no evidence. She's been able to get no one to come forward and corroborate her story in that they could say that they saw anything. It's too old for there to be any real physical evidence aside from eyewitness testimony. It's past the statute of limitations, so he can't be convicted either way, but it comes down to, like, is this the character of a guy that should be on the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I understand that. And if there is, I do think it should be investigated, because if there is any truth to it, you don't necessarily want that guy.
True. Now, here's some other things. She requested the FBI to investigate it. The FBI says, we don't investigate that. We're not investigating when you have no proof, no eyewitness testimony, and it's a 35-year-old allegation with no police report, even.
It feels like there's no credibility to it.
Here's the problem, right? Even if it's right, even if it's true, in the United States, we're innocent until proven guilty. That's the presumption of innocence,
yes.
Right? So you cannot treat this man as though he's guilty based on a single allegation with no evidence, in my opinion. And in the law's opinion, you cannot treat him as he is guilty until he is found guilty in a court of law.
Yeah.
But the FBI said they're not investigating it. This is a local government thing at best because it's a misdemeanor offense because he did not actually rape her.
Okay.
It's like sexual assault at best, which is still a heinous crime.
Yeah.
Obviously, we think rape is bad. Kada.
I don't know anybody who doesn't.
If you don't think rape is bad, you probably should just be shot, at least in the kneecaps.
I'll do it.
Nobody's saying that, but the Democrats are acting like, well, this is why women don't come forward, because they get treated as if they are idiots and they shouldn't be believed and all this stuff. And it's like, if you gave us any real evidence, we would do it. Or, like the Cosby allegations and all that stuff, if other women had come forward and said, hey, he did this to me too. Hashtag me too. Pound me too.
I'll pound you, bro.
Anyway.
That's
if that happened, people would be way more willing to believe this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the weekend, this weekend, supposedly this guy is so meticulous, I want to see the calendars, because this is tough for me to swallow. But my grandmother does this, so not impossible. Can I use your lighter while I'm explaining this?
There you go.
Well, supposedly over the weekend, he found his calendars that he kept notes on in the year she finally decided on, which I think was 82. And he said that when he read his calendar, it gave where he was on all these days and all this stuff, right? And what he was doing. Because it was like his planner. It was like his plans.
Yeah, my boss uses a calendar for everything.
Does he save his old calendars?
I think so. Because he writes down the days, like how many hours a day I work.
Yeah.
And everything like that.
So this guy went through and found his calendars and said he couldn't even have been at a party any time within the realm she was saying.
Really?
At any college party, according to those calendars. Now, I want to see those calendars, because if they're true and you can find a way to authenticate that they were actually written in that year,
yeah,
I'm perfectly inclined to believe it.
Well, I mean, and they can do that. They can carbon date the ink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can carbon date the ink.
It's tough to carbon date things that new, though.
Well,
carbon dating if it's older.
Yeah, well, they do have ways to date ink. Mm-hmm. I would imagine ink is
We've
made
done it
out
on
of
Jack the Ripper stuff like that, and Zodiac stuff. So, and Zodiac was, I think, 80s.
So, they'd probably be able to... But like, autographs. They do it with autographs, like, you take an autographed picture in to try to sell or get appraised. They can look at that, they can look at the ink, they can microscope it.
Mm-hmm.
Say, like, okay, this isn't period correct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if ink has changed in the last 35 years. I imagine it has. Everything's changed in the last 35 years.
Seems like it. You would think, right?
Yeah.
And,
I mean...
like, here's the thing. if she can prove that this happened, I want the dude to pay whatever price he should. I definitely don't want him on the Supreme Court. I don't think he should be a judge at all if she can prove that this happened. Or at least make it more than reasonably questionable. Like, make me more than wonder if he did it. Make me fairly sure that he did it. Make the public in general fairly sure that he did it.
Like with the OJ case.
Yeah. Everybody knows he did it.
I mean, if you've ever gotten a leather glove or a leather boot or anything wet and then let it just kind of dry out with nothing around it, leather shrinks.
Mm-hmm.
But the glove didn't fit, so...
we must have quit, yeah. And, however, now that I've said that, if he can prove that he was never there, I perfectly well think she should be sentenced for something. Like, at least the same level thing he got. It was a misdemeanor thing, he would have got. It was a misdemeanor thing, so I think she should at least get a misdemeanor charge, if that's the case.
At least. I think accusing somebody of... Well, she...
I mean, I know he could sue her for defamation, and she is a doctor, but...
He is a...
I don't know that he would be interested in suing her for defamation. He doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
He has a net worth of a little over $1 million.
Principal, though. Principal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that were me, and somebody came out and said, look, this guy tried to rape me in college, and I could, prove beyond all reasonable doubt, never do such a thing, couldn't have done such a thing, I wasn't even in the state.
Somehow produce a 35-year-old alibi that's actually credible.
Yeah. Huh. Nah, see, she said it was this month, and I was locked up for 3.
Oh, yeah. That would do it. But if he had been locked up, he wouldn't be a judge.
Well, yeah, but I think I would go ahead and sue or do whatever legal action I could, just on principle, because...
Yeah, because you can't let that kind of stuff go.
No, because it's not okay to rape, but it's not okay to accuse somebody of rape when they're completely 100% innocent.
Yeah, and, here's the thing, it's tough to believe one woman with no evidence, even when you want to.
Uh-huh.
And it shouldn't be that any one woman can come up and make up any allegation she wants and ruin your life.
Yeah.
It's already close to that for a normal person without that kind of notoriety. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew a girl in high school that accused this kid of raping her. I almost beat that kid down. Only to find out that what happened was they were both drunk, they both did stuff, and then she claimed it was date rape.
Yeah.
They were both, hammered out of their minds.
He could have tried the same thing.
Yeah.
But
he can't
nobody would
because
have...
he's a dude.
Nobody would have taken that seriously.
And if... We've proven cases in the past where people falsely accused other people of rape.
Mm-hmm.
Mattress Girl's a really famous case. This chick that carried a mattress around campus like Jesus carrying his cross, claiming she was raped, only for it to be proven that it never happened. But that kid was still already expelled from the university and couldn't come back.
Yeah. They already made their decision. It's
Yep. And because he got expelled for that, other universities wouldn't accept him.
Wow. So, he was...
She jacked up his whole life.
Yeah, entire life. He could have been...
If it's that easy to fell what would be a federal judge, how is that not going to become the playbook of anyone that doesn't like whatever judge is going up? Whether it be a right judge or left judge, right?
Or, even if he can go as far as a federal judge or possible Supreme Court judge, what about an annoying neighbor?
Yep.
Or just some guy who doesn't quite take the hint and you're not being quite blunt enough. You just cry it and he goes to jail, or...
Let me give you this one. Let me give you something that's not even related to rape. A kid is accused of plotting to shoot up a school that had no intention of shooting up a school, but did some stupid stuff that allowed people to connect dots, and then the rumor mill took off.
Okay.
You could see the impact that would have on someone's life.
Yeah. I can see that completely ruining a Like high school kids. That's usually when I think of school.
At the very least, it may not ruin his life entirely, but that's going to be really, really hard to come back from.
Yeah.
And if he ever got into a position of notoriety, they'd take him down in a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think it should be stated that the more cases that are proven false of women coming forward and accusing guys of rape, only for it to be proven false, it diminishes the ability of women who were actually raped to be able to come forward and be believed.
Yeah.
They belittle all the women that actually happened to.
It's like the boy who cried wolf.
Exactly.
If every other woman out there is crying rape and only a third or half, even if a third of them are just doing it for whatever sadistic reason, and there's no
They could corrupt
anything.
the whole system.
Yep.
Like, it becomes, we don't believe you, and the burden of proof will probably be higher if that becomes the perception.
Yeah.
Especially if it's tried in front of a jury. If the jury is used to false allegations, do you honestly think they're going to convict without being absolutely thoroughly convinced? Like, we've had people convicted innocently because maybe they couldn't prove it beyond reasonable doubt, but they could prove enough that it was, they were pretty sure that it probably happened, and so they were convicted. Innocent people have been convicted on those kind of grounds.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come out and your stuff is provably false, you make everything harder for all women then. Especially ones that it actually happened to. Because we don't know these women personally. We can't make character judgments.
Yeah.
We just have to look at facts and evidence. And I don't think we should allow, without due process, this kind of stuff to come forward and ruin someone's life. And even if the playing field were actually equal in this realm and men could come forward and accuse women, I would say the same thing about men.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's kind of... That is one thing I will say that's kind of... I've been seeing more light shed upon since this whole pussification of the American man.
yeah.
There is a little bit more awareness that does happen to guys. I mean, a guy might get, smashed at a party and some chick who he wouldn't normally be like, okay, yeah, let's hook up. He goes ahead and, he's inebriated, he's not saying no now, so let's jump his bones.
I'm trying not to smile here.
And that could be considered, date rape, just like a guy doing that to a girl.
Yeah.
But
most guys don't even consider it date rape. They're just like, hey, I screwed up.
Yeah. I went to a party and I banged a fat chick.
Yeah.
Or
an ugly chick or whatever.
Whatever.
We're not trying to crap on anybody's preference.
No.
Everybody needs somebody.
Yeah. That is Johnny Dare say, or the one guy on there, his show. Fat girls are like mopeds. They're fun to they're really fun to ride until your buddies find out.
That's horrible.
But it was funny.
Yeah, it is. And now you're getting people coming forward.
Okay.
Now we're getting people coming forward on Twitter and the lovely court of public opinion that is social media. Cancer's ridiculousness. Not that I can crap on it too much. It's how I made a good portion of my money. It's how our business model is built. It's a lot of things. However, I'm seeing people, both women and men, come forward and say, you know what? I'm perfectly happy to have men running scared from even one allegation. Mm-hmm. I'm perfectly happy to let some innocent men fall by the wayside if it means women get to voice themselves. And I think that's a dangerous precedent to set.
Yes.
And the thing that annoys me about, particularly lately anyway, the left side of the aisle, is they don't seem to understand that if they set this precedent, it will be used against them too.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of people on the right that play the same ridiculous identity politics, BS, looped group think type stuff that would be willing to say, all right, if this is the game we're playing, I'm going to play it to win.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really dangerous door to open. Now, all of that said, I genuinely think this woman is politically motivated. I think maybe somebody paid her to come forward, or she was just willing to fall on the sword on the hopes that it would prevent his confirmation because she's scared that he will outlaw abortion. He will be the deciding vote.
It sounds to me like he's not going to vote either way on it. It's already law.
Well, if it comes to the Supreme Court, he'll have to vote on it, right?
Well, yeah, but it seems like his vote's going to be whatever it is. Whatever they're trying to change on the law. He's just going to say no because it's already law. People have already voted on it. If you want a different
law, push it through Congress.
Yes,
because that's where all of this political bickering is supposed to be. The political grandstanding, the stuff that should be in front of the news, should be Congress. Because these are the people that are supposed to argue about issues and set laws. They're supposed to be the bulk of our government because they have the most representatives. They have the most diverse opinions.
Risk of sounding like an idiot on camera. Legislative branch?
Yeah.
That's Congress?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
They make legislation.
The law. Legislation is law.
Yeah, they're supposed to make the laws. The executive branch is supposed to confirm and help kind of enforce, we'll say. And the judicial branch is supposed to make judgments on the law based on what the law is. Now, Roe versus Wade making abortion legal through a court decision means that it could be overturned in a court.
Yeah.
That's true.
But
also unlikely.
I'm not entirely sure on federal level what the law is on abortion.
They've kind of kicked it to the states to regulate when it is.
Yeah. Kansas, I think,
and I'm big on kicking a lot of things to the states, but
I really don't know what Kansas's stance is. I know that a few years ago...
Some states are legal at least up to 36 weeks.
I know a few years ago, a doctor down in Wichita, I believe it was Wichita, he got fucking shot.
He got what now?
He got shot. Flipping shot. And either his doctor's office or the church for doing late-term abortions.
Yeah.
And I saw...
That's also wrong.
Yeah, late-term abortions. Well,
and murdering a guy in a church. Huh?
Oh, yes. But I'll go ahead and take a stand. Late-term abortions are kind of messed up.
Especially if it's after 30 weeks. Really, for me, if it's after 10 to 12 weeks, you can just get out of here.
Yeah.
But I think it becomes even harder to make an argument the further along you go. And you were, how many weeks?
Yeah.
You were at least 8 weeks premature, weren't you?
I was 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6.5.
Okay. So 36 weeks is legal in some states. If you were 6 weeks early, you were 34 weeks.
Yeah.
They could have aborted you 2 weeks after you were born.
Huh.
Not literally if he was still in the womb.
Obviously.
Any dummy that's going to make that comment to me.
But this guy, he was talking to the Supreme Court about why he thought... He was a doctor.
Yeah.
And he used to do late-term abortion. But he quit doing any kind of abortions because he ended up...
I think I know where you're going. I know this story.
Him and his wife couldn't have a kid. They adopted, and then a week later, or a couple weeks later, boom, she was pregnant. Funny how that stuff works out. And they were in a horrific car accident, and one or both of his children died. And he a couple weeks later, he went back to work, and he was doing a procedure, and he went into very gruesome detail about how late-term abortions work.
It is brutal. There's a movie that's come out by 2 Irish people that shows the process.
I don't want to see it. That sounds horrible.
It's horrifying.
But yeah, he's talking about grabbing onto stuff and ripping out different limbs, and he's like, you know, you've got the head when you can barely grab the forceps, which he described as basically like really big kind of flat pliers with teeth on it.
Uh-huh.
You can just barely get your fingers around it, and then you just squeeze as hard as you can. If you see white stuff, you know you hit the brain. It's just like, this is a serious matter.
Yeah.
Like, that far along, you're really screwing up, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But like he went into
even if you don't want to take a Christian stance on it, like
I'm not a Christian
exactly
in any way, shape, or
well,
form.
right? But I'm sure some people would see this video and assume that we were based on other opinions that we've expressed. But yeah,
Tis a hammer.
it's a literal heathen symbol.
Yes.
And if you're not sure that he's dedicated, it's there too.
It's on my arm. That's permanent, except for the red.
Yeah. And it's a horrible thing, but looping back away from the abortion issue on its head,
Yeah.
right? That was a poor choice of words.
Yeah, it was.
Last part of the conversation.
Made me gag a little.
The whole issue is Kavanaugh himself, and I really do not think there are grounds to stop him. Okay, there's some stuff I've left out that we haven't got to, because we have... Not the bullshit. There's more news on this issue. No, I'm good. They have allowed her to say she could come before Congress and testify, and then he will testify. And she said she wants him to go first. Okay. Here's the deal on that. You want the accused to go before the accuser and defend himself before he's even been formally accused.
Yeah.
That's like swinging before the pitcher throws the ball.
Yeah.
Alright. That's nuts. Congress has given her a number of avenues to come forward and give her case. They have said it can be public, it can be not public, it can be on several different dates. None of which she said were soon enough, and she's had a couple weeks to come out and do this by now. The last deadline I believe they gave her was either last Thursday or this coming Thursday, and she says she can't make that either. And it's like, we've given you weeks to come forward and accuse this guy.
Not only has they given her weeks, she's had 35 years plus.
Okay. Do you know what you were saying?
Nope.
Sorry. We're back.
Like you were
The
talking.
camera cut off. You were talking.
Oh.
Yeah, you said she
okay,
had 35 years
Yeah.
also to come forward.
So yeah, she's had 35 years plus some to come forward and make these accusations, and now just when they're speculating he's going to be the next nomination, or
He's already been nominated. They're
Okay.
speculating he's going to be the next judge.
Okay, so they're speculating he's going to be the next judge. That's when you decide to come forward. That feels a little kind of out of place.
And they're still trying to make concession, but it's like, they need to stop, because I'm perfectly happy with them pushing to get him confirmed before midterm elections. And that way, he can just be done with it. Because, like, they've given her all these opportunities to testify. They've basically told her, as long as she gets up there by a certain date, and she gives her testimony, they will hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even a court of law. They can't even make a court judgment. All she has to do is convince Congress. She has to convince a few Republicans that are going to vote for him that they can't be confident enough to vote for this guy.
Yeah.
And here's another thing I don't think they realize they're risking. One of the other people that was on Trump's shortlist for nominations is perfectly willing to overturn Roe versus Wade and has said it. And it's a chick.
Yeah.
What are they going to do if he puts her up next? Because he tried to, I'm speculating here, that he tried to pick a somewhat more moderate judge because he wanted it not to be this crazy dog and pony show.
Yeah. So I think what a lot of people don't quite grasp is no matter what position he's in, Trump's not a politician.
Yeah.
He may be in the position of like the highest politician.
But he's not an experienced politician that knows what he's doing.
He's not really a politician. He's an American who at one point decided he was tired of seeing the crap show that we've been going through these last few years, these last few presidents.
Yeah, and so he decided he wanted to come forward and try to make a difference. Now, whether or not you agree with what he wants to do, you should probably understand that that's who he is.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say that he just came forward for more fame, because this guy put so much on the line to do it.
Yeah, he is. There are people in other countries who literally pay him
just to put his name
probably
on
millions of dollars a year just to put his name on their building. Because he is a symbol of capitalism. He's a symbol of prosperity and wealth, and more than being a political figure, he is a symbol of how things...
Yeah, before he stepped into the realm of politics, he was what a lot of business people aspired to, because he was just so wildly successful off of not small beginnings, but nowhere near as big a beginnings as what he is now.
Yeah, I mean, what did he start out with? His
dad gave him a loan of $1 million.
$1 million.
Small loan.
A small, okay, but...
It's not a small loan, but if you compare it to what he's built.
Yeah, that's like, okay, I give you... $1 million to $1 billion is like 100 to...
Find me a guy with $10 million and tell him to get to $1 billion in 5 years. He probably won't do it.
With, you say $10 million?
Yeah. Give a random guy that says he can do it $10 million and watch him fail.
Okay, so, but comparing $1 million to $1 billion, that's like comparing 1,000 to $1 million, correct? Or...
$1 million is... $1 billion is 1,000 to million. So yes.
Okay, so if I gave you $1,000...
and told you to turn it into $1 million.
Yeah. How long will it take you to either completely crash and fail and blow all that $1,000, or
about 3 months?
About 3 months. or how long will it take you to take that $1,000 and show me $1 million in a bank account or on a check, or that is to you, like that is you have taken that $1,000. And you have showed me a 1,000% profit.
Yes. Let's get nitty gritty about it a little bit. We invested about $1,000 in the whiskey box.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've roughly come close to making that investment back, but not really. That was tax time.
Yeah.
It's October, pretty much.
Yeah, we're rolling up. I'm already drooling over the different stuff I can do to a recently purchased item at the next tax time.
And so, like, we obviously couldn't do it in just a few months.
Yeah.
Is there anything that currently makes you believe that we could add up the net profit of our business within 5 years and hit $1 million? No. And that's what he did, just from $1 million to $1 billion.
He did. So he made his first,
and he was actually worth either 3 or 11 billion, depending on who you talk to.
How long did he take to get to?
Forbes had him at 11 billion. How long did it take him?
Yes,
like 40 years.
40. Okay, but
to get to 11 billion, I don't know how long it took him to hit his first.
Okay,
billion.
but still, to take that, even to get to a 500,000 out of 1,000. I don't know. I know people who I'm 100% sure could not take. I could not hand them $200 and say, do whatever you got to do. Make 1,000 and bring me back $300.
Yeah.
So you're basically gonna take that $200 I handed you,
multiply by 5.
Multiply by 5. 5 times. I don't know people who could do that ever. Yeah. Like they're gonna end up losing that initial investment, and they're gonna have to start over somewhere else.
Yep. And he's had failed businesses and stuff, right? But like, he still did a lot with that.
But as a whole,
so and that's why he's such a symbol of success to so many people.
Yeah.
And that's why he wrote The Art of the Deal, and he was famous in the 80s and such for it.
There's a reason that he had his own TV show where he was teaching people how to make money.
Yeah.
Celebrities and all this other stuff.
Yeah. So, I think that's kind of a good spot to kind of round off our opinion on everything relating to this Kavanaugh issue. And I'd love some discussion in the comments. I think Blue Collar Logic made a video on this. It's pretty interesting, and you could check them out. I think definitely check out Matt Christensen's opinion on it, and Beauty and the Beta podcast on it. I think it was episode 120 last week, or 112, or whatever. That's a big jump, because they only do one a week, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's in there somewhere. It's in the title. And, you know, let us know what you think, but that's our take on it. So until we see you again, unless you had more to say.
Nope.
I'm Zach.
I'm Jake.
We are the Dirt Road Men.
The Dirt Road Dick!
That's staying in there.
Hey everybody, if you like this video, hit a like or dislike, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you really like what we're doing, check us out over on Facebook, where we post every day.